It was one of those bitter, empty nights when the streets felt abandoned, like the whole city had turned its back on anyone who didn't have a warm place to go. A sleek black SUV rolled slowly past dimly lit storefronts, its driver just trying to get home after another exhausting day. In the back seat sat a little girl, her head resting against the window, clutching a stuffed rabbit like it was a lifeline. The man behind the wheel, Ethan Hayes, was a self-made millionaire, the kind of guy whose name was whispered in boardrooms and splashed across business magazines. But right now, none of that mattered. He was just a tired dad with an 8-year-old who needed to get to bed. That's when he saw her. At first, she was just a shadow crouched by an alley dumpster, her figure barely visible under the flickering light of a broken street lamp. But something about her movements, fast, desperate, like she was racing against time, pulled his attention. She pulled a greasy paper bag from the trash, sniffed it, then bit into something cold and stale inside. Ethan's chest tightened. Without even thinking, he pulled over. "Daddy, why are we stopping?" his daughter, Harper asked softly, lifting her head. He nodded toward the alley. "Because someone out there needs help." Harper peered through the window, eyes wide. She's eating trash, Daddy." Ethan didn't respond. He stepped out, his polished shoes echoing on wet pavement as he approached slowly, hands visible, voice calm. "Hey," he said gently. "I'm not here to bother you." The woman froze, her body tensing like a stray animal. "I'm not stealing," she blurted, her voice hoarse, defensive. "I know," Ethan replied, keeping his distance. "I just wanted to ask if you're hungry." She blinked at him, unsure if this was some kind of trick. Her face was pale beneath the dirt, framed by tangled dark hair tucked under a knit cap. After a moment, she whispered, "Yes." "There's a diner a block away," he said, nodding toward his car. "My daughter and I haven't eaten yet either. Would you join us?" "Why?" she asked, trembling. "Why would you do that?" "Because no one should eat from a dumpster," he said simply. Behind him, Harper waved shyly from the back seat. That little wave broke through the woman's hesitation and she nodded. "Okay," she murmured. Minutes later, she was seated in a warm booth, hands trembling as she tried to eat slowly, but couldn't hide her hunger. Harper slid her syrup across the table. "You can have extra if you want," she said with a soft smile. "Thank you, sweetheart," the woman whispered, tears burning behind her tired eyes. When Ethan asked her name, she said softly, "Sophia." It was the first time in weeks she'd said it out loud. After the meal, Ethan offered her a ride. She insisted she could sleep in an alley. He looked her dead in the eye. "I didn't buy you dinner just to drop you back on the street. Come with us, just for tonight." Sophia hesitated, gripping the car door. "You don't know me," she whispered. "I don't have to," he said. "I just know you deserve a safe place to sleep." That night, for the first time in months, Sophia slept in a bed with clean sheets. She stood under a hot shower until her body stopped shivering, until she felt human again. She traced her reflection in the mirror, barely recognizing herself. For once, she wasn't just surviving, she was breathing. The next morning, she stepped into the kitchen, clean clothes folded on her frame, hair brushed back, and found Harper perched on a stool, swinging her legs while Ethan flipped pancakes. "You look better," Harper announced matter-of-factly. Sophia smiled faintly. "I feel better." Ethan handed her a plate. "Eat. You've got a long day ahead." She frowned. "I should go. I don't want to overstay my welcome." "You're not a guest," Ethan said simply. "You're safe here." For days, Sophia stayed in his guest room, too exhausted to protest. Slowly, walls she'd built over years of pain began to crack. One rainy afternoon, over mugs of steaming coffee, she finally spoke. "I used to study art," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "Illustration. I was pretty good, I think. I was supposed to sign a deal for a children's book." Her lips trembled. "Then my mom got sick. Cancer. Fast. Aggressive. I dropped everything to care for her. By the time she passed, I'd lost everything. Apartment job, boyfriend. I ended up here." She gestured vaguely as if the whole city had spit her out. People stopped looking at me. I stopped looking at myself. I became invisible. Ethan leaned forward, meeting her eyes. I see you now. That broke her. Silent tears streamed down her face as she whispered, No one said that to me in years. I'm not offering charity, he said softly. I'm offering a restart. Within a week, he had her sitting in a sunlit office at Hayes Innovations, his tech company's creative division. Sophia walked through the glass doors like an imposter, head down, unsure how to exist among people in tailored suits. But Ethan's quiet reassurance gave her courage. She's got real talent, he told the design team. Trust me. They gave her a tablet and stylus, and for the first time in years, Sophia sketched. Her hand trembled at first, but soon lines flowed effortlessly, characters taking shape like old friends she hadn't seen in years. Within months, her name was on a contract, her work displayed in presentations, her paycheck deposited in her own bank account. She rented a modest apartment nearby, but still found herself at Ethan's penthouse most nights, Harper curled up in her lap as they watched cartoons. And then came the night everything shifted. They were on the balcony, city lights twinkling below Harper, already asleep inside. Sophia leaned against the railing, arms wrapped around herself. I'm scared, she whispered, of what Ethan asked, that this isn't real, that I'll wake up and I'll be back where I was. He stepped closer, his voice low. You're not going back there. Not ever. You're home. She turned to him, heart pounding, and for the first time they kissed, soft, steady, like they'd both been waiting their whole lives for this exact moment. Over the next year, their lives wove together like threads in a tapestry. Sophia bloomed not just at work, but at home, filling their days with laughter and warmth. Harper clung to her hand at school drop-offs, whispering, If I ever get a real mom again, I want it to be you. Sophia cried in the bathroom that night, overwhelmed by love she thought she'd never deserve. By the time winter rolled around, Ethan had made up his mind. One crisp evening with snowflakes dancing in the air, he led her back to that same balcony where they'd first kissed. He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket, opened it, and asked simply, Sophia Lane, will you marry me? She froze, tears spilling instantly, not because she didn't want it, but because for the first time in her life, someone wasn't asking her to leave or prove herself. He was asking her to stay. Yes, she whispered. 1,000 times yes. Their wedding wasn't extravagant despite Ethan's wealth. It was intimate, heartfelt, with Harper proudly walking down the aisle, tossing flower petals before her favorite people in the world said their vows. Sophia's dress was simple lace, her head held high, no veil to hide the scars of her past. I used to believe life had decided what I was allowed to have, she said softly during her vows, her voice shaking. That I didn't deserve more than what I'd lost. But you saw me when no one else did. You reminded me I was still here. And because of you, I see myself again. I promise to choose you every day with everything I am. When they kissed, Harper cheered loudest of all. The months that followed were a blur of simple joys. Pancake breakfasts, family movie nights, evenings spent sketching together. Sophia's art was now featured in a major educational app, and she was thriving in a way she'd once thought impossible. Ethan, once a stoic workaholic, was now the guy who made cupcakes with his daughter on a Tuesday night. One evening, sitting on that same balcony, Sophia leaned back in her chair, sketchbook in her lap, Harper giggling inside over some cartoon. Ethan looked over and smiled. Do you remember the first thing I asked you? She chuckled softly. You asked if I was hungry. He tilted his head. Are you still? She closed her sketchbook and smiled. Not anymore. I have everything I ever needed. But that's the thing about life, it can flip in a heartbeat. The people who walked past Sophia that night in the alley never imagined she'd one day stand on magazine covers as a lead designer, married to a man who had once been one of the most guarded bachelors in the country. They never imagined the girl digging through trash would one day host charity galas for homeless shelters, quietly funding programs for women like her, women who'd been invisible. And yet Sophia still remembers every cold night on the streets, every look of disgust, every time someone crossed to the other side of the sidewalk. She remembers, and it fuels her. Because sometimes all it takes is one person who stops, one question, and the courage to see someone who's been invisible for too long. So, what do you think? Was Ethan reckless for inviting a stranger home that night, or was it proof that compassion is stronger than fear? Have you ever seen someone overlooked by the world and wished you'd done something? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your stories. And if this one touched you, share it. Someone out there might need the reminder that their life can still change. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that prove second chances are real.